Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Forensic Investigation live course talk, which is part of our Marge Live programme. Today you are joined by myself, who's Sally Richardson, and I'm part of the student recruitment team. And we also have Dr. Sarah Gardner and Sergeant Dave Moore, who are going to deliver the presentation today and tell you all about the course. We also have two student ambassadors with us today who also study this course, which is Jerry and David, who'll be able to share their perspective from a student point of view. So I'm now going to hand over to Sarah. But before I do that, the Q&A function is open, so please do ask away any questions that you have from now until the end of the presentation, and what we'll do is we'll answer those queries and questions at the end. So Sarah, now over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sally. Welcome everybody. I hope that you're doing well today, and thank you so much for joining us in this unusual manner for an open day. So I'll just introduce myself, and then that's a very scary picture of me taken several years ago, and then I'll get my colleague Dave Moore to introduce himself. So I'm Sarah Gardner. I'm the course lead in forensic investigation here at Marjon. And just a quick history, I've worked for a couple of different police forces and the Home Office. I worked for the Forensic Science Service for 8 years as a forensic biologist, and I've been teaching at universities for about 9 years now. So that's me and my scary glove. Over to you, Dave. Look at his picture. Wow.
Yeah, I just go scary without a rubber glove, just a picture. My name's Dave Moore. I'm currently a police sergeant with Devon and Cornwall. So I've got 25 years experience within the force through various different areas of policing. Mainly frontline, and also through investigation and things like that, and through custody. I've been teaching now at university, lecturing at universities now for just about 6 years, and you know, being here at Marjon, I've been here now for just over 12 months.
Yes, wonderful. Thank you, Dave. There's a few more team members. We haven't included them here because they're not as important. That's not true at all. But yeah, there are a few more members of our team as well. So I'll just talk a bit about the course. So the main strategy for us in relation to what we try and deliver to the students is, you know, what are we looking at? What's the definition of evidence? How might we go about collecting that evidence in different formats, from crime scenes, internal and external, and other situations? How might we examine that evidence? So that's kind of the lab-based side of things. We do an awful lot of lab work with our students. How are we going to interpret the evidence? So we do some statistical type analysis. Oh, I shouldn't say that word, that might put you off completely. Some interpretive studies in relation to the evidence, and perhaps what that might mean for the actual case. And then, you know, we'll help you write a statement, which we will get you to present in a mock court. And basically what we try and do really is the whole process from the crime scene all the way through to the court. So a combination of a couple of different roles within forensics there is what we teach. So the programme highlights really are, we have staff who have worked in the field of forensics or in the field of policing, CSI. It's a very hands-on course, so we try and encourage lab classes per subject every week, and that can include the crime scene house as well. So we have classes in the crime scene house and in the lab. And the reason that we can have weekly classes in those facilities is that we have really small class sizes. So a lot of universities' courses are at several hundred students for their cohort, but you know, for some of our year groups we're under 20, which is really lovely because it means that we get to know the students really well. We always have a good rapport with them, and it does mean that we can do much more hands-on things with the students in relation to lab classes, crime scene house classes, work experience type situations as well, and maybe some off-site trips. All of those things we try and embed into the degree. We have flexible learning spaces for you to learn. We've got a range of different classrooms that are small and large. We have a room full of beanbags with whiteboards that you can just sit down and think about your ideas and write them up. We obviously have the crime scene house as well, which Dave's going to talk about, and a few other situations where there's different types of rooms. We do have a bar as well, so that's always really good to sit and gather your thoughts. The other thing about having small class sizes is that every single honours project that you do in final year can be lab based. I have worked in universities before now that couldn't accommodate that situation because there was too many students. So we do support the fact that every student can do a lab-based project should they wish to, and we actually do encourage that. So some of the subjects that you'd be taught, this isn't all of them obviously, this is just a range, and you would be taught forensic science in first year and forensic trace analysis. Then I teach forensic biology and blood pattern analysis. In second year, you'll also learn about mass disaster victim identification in second year, so some fingerprints and some DNA evidence. Dave teaches forensic documentation in your first year, so a range of some of the document types that you would come across, both CSI based and quality and validation. I teach the third year's forensic chemistry, so it's mainly drug analysis and the chemistry behind that. We do 3 CSI based subjects which Dave runs. We have one in first year, one in second year and one in third year. Dave will talk to you a bit more about those. And then there's the honours project in third year, which is 2 subjects worth, is always laboratory based of some kind. We will try and find a subject that you're interested in, create a project around that for you and support you to do that research in an independent way. Oh, let's go back to that one. Oh dear. And again, no, doesn't like it. Well, the previous slide was some of my students dressed up in their blood pattern analysis gear, covered in blood. This picture here, we ran a little trip with our first years where they went out to a shooting range and fired some bits of material from different distances and brought that material back. And what we usually do, but we had the issue with COVID sadly, is that the students do some gunshot residue trace analysis in the laboratory, and they try and work out on the material that they've shot at, and they try and work out whether the difference in distance of those pieces of material made a difference to how much gunshot residue is on those materials. So it's kind of a combination of an off-site trip with a laboratory-based laboratory practical, which is always fun. Over to you, Dave, for your CSI subject.
Thanks, Sarah. So as Sarah says, I run a lot of the crime scene investigation type modules. So the sort of the policing aspect of it and what you do at a crime scene. So right at the start, in your first year, in your first semester, we'll be looking at what we call an introduction to crime scene investigation. So we'll talk about things like, what is a crime scene? So it's not always just the room or where the offence took place. It could be the person, it could be the suspect. They may all have evidence on them. It may be a direction of travel. A weapon has been discarded. So all of those things, you think about what actually is a crime scene. And then we start talking about what is evidence. What does it show us? What does it prove? Does evidence actually stack up? Does evidence match each other? What different kinds of evidence have we got? And this is all based around, we have a theoretical session each week, which talks about specific crime scene investigation skills. So whether or not it'll be like a finger mark lift or taking a swab of blood or something like that, and then how to bag things and record them correctly. And then each week we'll also go into the crime scene house where you have a practical session where we start building it up based from a very basic crime scene into slightly more complicated ones with more techniques. So the things that you've learned in theory in one of the earlier sessions in a week, you then put into practice. So we go in, we get all suited and kitted up, and then go into the crime scene. So it is very, very much a practical based module. It is very hands-on. You really do get taught the skills of how to do things properly and effectively, and we do it step by step. So when it comes to sort of the assessment at the end of the semester, you've done everything numerous times, and certainly we found that last year in December, when they did a practical based assessment, that the students felt really comfortable in doing it because they had done it time and time again. Thanks, Sarah. Can you go on to the next one, please? Thanks.
Yeah.
So in year 2, what we then do is we look at the crime scene photography module, and again, this is going into crime scenes, assessing the crime scene, directing what visual images are required to get the best picture and get the best evidence. So this would be the step before you start seizing evidence and put them in bags and things like that. So you'd go in again, all kitted up, and you'll also learn how to use a camera properly on manual settings. So none of the point and click and none of this using your mobile phone stuff anymore. Unfortunately, we've got to use a real camera, like the old fashioned things that we're used to using. But it's really good because, you know what, it gives you an extra skill. It gives you a skill on how to use a camera properly and how to use it on manual settings and all these things to consider. So we'll teach you how to do that. And then we'll teach you as well what to look at, how to visualize a crime scene, how to take a photograph. And again, you'll have one theoretical session and then you'll have a longer practical session to go into the crime scene house, or you might do an outdoor scene where you're taking photographs and you hone your skills. The equipment that we have now is fantastic. The university just spent over about £12,000 on new camera equipment, which includes all the special flashes and everything in the lenses. So they're really, really well equipped. And then this allows you then, as part of your assessment, to put together a photographic evidence album. So you can take loads of photographs during the crime assessment, the crime scene assessment, and then you put together an album. And again, very, very practically based module. It's all hands-on. Because of the way things are, you get taught in very small groups within the crime scene house, or whether it be an outdoor scene. And so you'll get really good, intense tutorship when you're doing those things. Thanks, Sarah. And then in the 3rd year, what we want to do is we want to put everything together. So this is the crime scene management, and this is in the last semester of year 3. So all of the stuff that you've done in crime scene investigation and forensic documentation and crime scene photography, you put it all together, as well as all the lab work you've done. Because the great thing about doing the lab work and the crime scene investigation is you suddenly realise how important it is to do things right in the crime scene, so that when you analyse them in the lab, you get the correct results. So in crime scene management, you're putting all the skills you've learned over all 3 years together. Now, what we want to do is we give you a situation, we give you a scenario, and throughout the course, you then develop other skills. So we will do things like victim interviews and evidence gathering, how you take a statement off a victim. And then we'll do suspect interviews. So you'll actually do a tape recorded interview of a suspect. Not going down to the police station. We'll have a suspect for you for our crime scene, but you'll do an interview of them. And then you'll put all of this evidence together, as well as the crime scene that you've examined, the photographs you've taken, and then you'll be able to present your case in a court-like setting to a sort of subject or objective jury, who will then look at all the evidence and then see how you've gathered it and see how you've put it together. So again, it's very, very much a practically based module. And one of the parts on this one here is we will get you an attachment to go in and spend a shift with CID in Plymouth. So you will go into the police station, you will work with real police officers working on real cases to see what they do, how they do it. Chances are you're probably going to go into a suspect interview as well in real life. So all those opportunities are there, because still being in the police, I'm able to arrange a lot of that. So it gives you a real insight into how everything on a forensic investigation course comes together to get the final result. Thanks, sir. So this is our lovely crime scene house, which we got this year. As you can see there in the door, there is the ghost of one of our murder victims who appears occasionally at night. But yeah, we've got a really good 4-bedroom house now, which we've obtained this year, which gives us a load of scope. So we'll have all the bedrooms to use. We've got the lounge, we've got the kitchen that we can use. So we've got a lot of rooms where we can set up different crime scenes. And at the back garden, we've got a nice little open area here, which again, we can do with outdoor scenes if we need to. So it just gives you that little bit more scope to have a look around at the bigger scene. So inside here, right opposite with the open door there, that's our operations room where you can get changed, and we have all our equipment in there, your gloves, your masks, your white suits, all of those things. So you're very, very well equipped. You'll have cases with proper equipment to use to check out the crime scene that you're going into. So all that equipment is supplied for you. So you've got all the good stuff to go in. Thanks, sir. So this is just a basic sort of crime scene that's set up in the lounge. And normally what will happen is you'll have an account from somebody, whether it be the victim or a witness has heard something, and then you will have a basic crime scene set up such as this. Now, each of these pieces of evidence will tell you some information. And then what you've got to do is look at the evidence, assess what it's possibly going to tell you, and then put it all together to try and find out what happened, try and find out what the truth is. Thanks, sir. So part of your photography, you might be looking at things like this and doing a close-up of a finger mark at the crime scene. So something like this is really good that it could be sent off straight away. You might be doing, well, you will be doing wide-angled photographs, taking in the whole scene, but you can go straight down to this sort of level of detail, and we will teach you those skills to be able to take photographs such as this. And then there will be various bits of blood spatter, so you'll have measuring tools here to measure where it is, how big it is, where you think it's come from. And unfortunately, with Sarah's photograph earlier on, she does a fantastic piece in the house whereby you can use lots of different implements to hit lots of bits of meat and see how the blood spatters all over the place. So if you like sort of gory kind of stuff, then it's great. It's really good fun. It gives you a good idea, and again, really practical, real hands-on stuff.
I do love that subject. It's amazing. I find that the students get so much energy out. Should we call it energy? Aggression out. Do you want to talk about your amazing research that you're doing, Dave, with the drink spiking?
Yeah, some of the things that we're looking at, and one of the things we looked at from a policing perspective, but also from a university perspective, is there's a fear at the moment of drink spiking nationally happening in the evening and nighttime economy. So some of the work that we've been doing, and again, because still being in the police, we're able to do this and to be able to utilise sort of police resources. We've created a drink spiking working practice and have got some chemical testing equipment from a laboratory up country to enable us to be able to test people who believe they may have been spiked, or to test drinks that they think may have been spiked. A big report, a big 3-month trial went ahead in Plymouth, and at the moment it's been looked at nationally. There's about 6 or 7 police forces now who are looking to undertake this, and it was just about to be rolled out across the whole of Devon and Cornwall, but unfortunately COVID kicked in, so that sort of stopped the rollout at the moment. And we've been invited onto Crime Watch as well to give a presentation for it. So again, that was going to be happening a couple of months ago, but of course COVID kicked in and all live filming stopped. So hopefully that'll be happening again in the autumn some point. But it gives you an example of some of the stuff that we're able to do. With Marjon working in conjunction with the police and other agencies to have those opportunities, and we've got students who'll have the opportunity to work with something like that, doing research into something like this as part of their honours project. So it's a great opportunity to get a real world bit of groundbreaking research in that can actually make a difference, would you believe, here and now. So the opportunity is there for you, and that's the great thing that Marjon can offer.
Wonderful. And I was really disappointed to not see you on Crime Watch Day, because I told everyone about it, the time and the date, and then didn't happen. I don't know. What a shame. Well, that's it from us, isn't it, Dave? Thank you so much for listening. Does anyone have any questions? Sally, back to you, I suppose, to organise those for us.
Thank you, Sarah. It was really interesting actually hearing about all the wide kind of skill sets that you do learn on that course, and it's just so interesting, all the different elements and things that you might not have thought go into kind of the forensic investigation as a whole. So we did have a question come through in regards to how many lessons will we have each week, and David's kindly put a kind of a quick response in there, but Sarah, I don't know if you want to elaborate a bit more on contact time expected from our students.
Yeah, of course. So it depends on what you're learning and what the subject area is, but some subjects have a bit more contact time than others, and probably really whether they've got quite a heavy lab component. So, for example, the first year subject, forensic science, which gives you a really broad basis for all the different types of forensic science that there are, has a 2-hour lecture, a 2-hour lab per week, and every now and again, every couple of weeks, there'll be a 1-hour tutorial just to check that everybody's okay with the information and whether they've got any questions. So that's quite a heavy, intense type of subject. There are some subjects, for example, you do something called research methods in second year, which is to support you through your honours project in third year. And that is desk-based, so you actually only have 3 hours of content for that one. It would be a 2-hour lecture and a 1-hour tutorial per week. So yeah, it actually does depend, but the more hands-on stuff has slightly more because you need to learn the content and then go and do the practice.
Thank you for sharing that, Sarah. It's really interesting. I suppose following on from that, a question would be in regards to like how will they be assessed? I know obviously you've mentioned obviously a bit of lab time and obviously the theory and practical alongside it. So how will they be assessed?
So it really varies, and it varies on the subject, and there's normally 2 assessments per subject, but they can be anything from a lit review and an essay, a moot court presentation, an oral presentation. We do posters, little in-class tests, practical assessments. So you might be asked to do something lab or crime scene based or photography based for one of Dave's subjects, but for one of mine, for example, they're asked to follow a set of instructions in the lab and run a test and see if they get the right result. It really depends. We try and use a range of assessments as much as we can, and it really will be fit for purpose for whatever the subject is that you're studying.
Yeah, so for each of mine, with the crime scene investigation side or the crime scene side of things, each one generally will have like a practical assessment where you will go in and check the crime scene or take your photographs, but then that will be presented in the form of a report or your photograph album. So each one of my modules will have a practical assessment to it. But the great thing is and you can ask the student ambassadors this, is that by the time you come to do that practical assessment, it really is second nature because you've gone through everything step by step. It's not one of those where you've got to be really worried. You know, you'll be the only person in the house in that crime scene, and it's actually quite chilled. It's stuff that you've just done again and again and again, because that's the whole point, is getting you to that standard whereby you've got the experience in doing it. So they're not that scary at all.
No, and you know, we do find that we try and prepare students as much as we can in relation to the assessments coming up. But yeah, you do a variety, and I did miss out witness statements as one of them. And that, you know, as a forensic scientist, you'll write witness statements all day long, interpreting evidence to write them, and the statement then goes to court. So we do put some of those types of assessments in, either a CSI based statement or a science-based one that has you know, the analysis of the tests and the interpretation of such in there. So statements as well.
Thank you both, Sharon. I think it's quite nice that there's such a variety, and it's not always going to be kind of the constant report writing or exams, and a little bit of real life, I suppose, scenarios to kind of get you prepped for post-university. And I think it probably would be a great time now to ask our students some questions. So I'm going to go across to Jerry, if that's okay. So Jerry, I just want if you could just share what year you're currently studying within the course, and also just share what's been your favourite opportunity or favourite part of studying this course so far.
I've just completed year 1. And it's been a fantastic year. It's gone so quickly. It's amazing. I really like the CSI part of it. And I really thought at the beginning when I started to do this that would be the field that I would choose to follow on to. But going into the labs in the second semester, it's actually really exciting putting what we've done in the actual crime scene all together in the labs and then coming to find results. So I'm still up in the air of where I want to be. But the things that I've really enjoyed this year is going out, and Dave has organised some opportunities that we can volunteer in. So I went out with the police dogs one day and was walking around Plymouth with drugs on me, and the dogs would actually come and follow you and arrest you. And so we did that as part of you know, you could do that. I've also done training to be an appropriate adult, so that I can actually go into the police stations and go into interviews as well, so that I can learn from that, as well as supporting vulnerable adults and children on that side of it. So there's lots of opportunities. If you want to get involved, there is lots of opportunities right throughout the course to actually do lots of extra add-ons, but they all actually feed back into the course. So you've got lots of practical, which is brilliant, from the labs and the CSI as well. And there are some theory, but we all have theory. So yeah, I think overall it's a really good course because you never get bored.
Thank you, Jo.
Thanks, Jerry.
Yeah, that's a really lovely kind of roundup, I think. And it's amazing to hear about those opportunities that you're having outside of studying. So it's like volunteering with the police and things like that. I think they're great for you to kind of build upon even more your skill set that you're learning on the course. So thank you very much, Jo, for sharing that. David, I'm going to come across to you. So David is also one of our student ambassadors that we have with us today. David, if you could just share what year you're in, and also if you could again share what's been your favourite part of studying on this course, and any opportunities, and also what it's like on campus.
So hello, I'm David. I'm a second year forensic investigation student. I've really enjoyed the course being on the second year, and I've transferred over from City College from a foundation degree, so I've come into the second year, and Marjon have been such a family driven university. There's such a lovely feel and family community to the university as well as the course. The lectures have been amazing. I've thoroughly enjoyed all the modules, the crime scene investigation, the crime scene photography, victim identification, because as Jerry was saying, it's so practical based, and that's what some people are more about. They more want to do more practicals like lab assessments and photography. Other than some people are good at writing essays, so there is the essay component to it and lit reviews, which is more for some people, not for others. So they do think about each individual, and Marjon has that caring side to it where they care for each individual. Having a smaller class size is perfect. And as Jerry was saying, that there are opportunities outside of university. So I did the dog training, and that was walking dogs around Plymouth for dogs training so they could sniff you out for drugs, which was a great opportunity. And I look forward to the opportunities next year as well, which will be provided. And so yeah, I live on campus, and I've enjoyed living on campus. It means making new friends. It means I can roll out of bed and be at my lecture in 5 minutes. And having the bar so close as well, you can make new friends, join in with social activities. It's just been such fun. I mean, it's a shame it was cut short from COVID, but about making the most of it out of your uni experience.
Thank you, David. That's amazing. I think one of the things that does come up so frequently is the Marjon community and the Marjon family. And I think I look back to my university experience where I went to a large university, and sometimes I think, oh, I wish I went somewhere like Marjon, because that community feel is amazing. And even as a staff member working alongside the amazing academics and the students, it's I haven't been there too long, and it's been an amazing experience. I managed to make friends and work really collaboratively with people. So thank you, David, for sharing your experience of that. And I think the being on campus and being able to roll out of bed and kind of be to your lecture so soon, I think is amazing for some students to be able to kind of just get ready so quickly and be on time every day for their lectures. I think Sarah probably appreciates that as well, that people are turning up on time.
He was always there on time. It was brilliant. Yes, thank you for that, Dave. I appreciate it.
No problem.
I've had a question come in, I think, which kind of links in with what we're talking about, is kind of what is it going to be like potentially in September, and if COVID prevents us. So I know we briefly spoke about this already, and I know, David, you've said about the update that we've had online, which is amazing. So that is on our social media. But Sarah, did you want to elaborate on that? Would you like me to?
Yeah, both of us can do it if you like. Should I talk about it from the forensic perspective? Do you want to go first in relation to university-wide and what the expectation is for semester A, and then I'll talk about the course.
Ideal. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so for semester A, so from September through to Christmas, we are hoping to be back on campus in September. So this will be a blended learning approach. So we're going to be having some online kind of seminars and lectures, but we're also hoping to welcome people on campus and have some face-to-face learning as well. We're planning it for semester A only at the moment, because we obviously don't know what is going to happen over the next few months. So we're following government guidelines and advice as best we can, but we also are really conscious that we do want to be back on campus and have that face-to-face learning. I think, as Sarah's going to say in a moment, some elements of some of our courses that we have, where the practical elements are really important to your learning. So we do want to make sure that you're not going to miss out on that. So I think, Sarah, I can hand over to you now.
Yeah, thank you, Sally. So as Sally said, we're going for a 50-50 approach. So 50% of your learning will be online for semester A, and that will be your lectures / tutorials. Tutorials will be on something like Teams like this, where you can all see each other, interact with your lecturer and ask questions, answer questions. But then there'll also be some online learning where we will talk over a PowerPoint in a lecture kind of fashion and upload that to the learning space page for you at the right time each week. You'll interact with that in your own time, and then when we do the tutorials with you, we can talk you through what you understood, what you didn't understand, what you took from that PowerPoint. So yes, there's 50% will be remote, and kind of that will be up to you to put the engagement in there to engage with the material. But the other 50% will be on campus, so either lab-based or in the crime scene house. So lab-based, because of social distancing, we're going to have to only have half of the normal amount of students that we have in the lab per session, but we will repeat them. So what we want to make sure that happens is that we're not reducing the amount of time you have in the lab. So every lab-based subject or crime scene house-based subject you will still have the same amount of time you would normally have done without this situation. But we will be putting the effort in to double up everything that we're running. So we'll double up the crime scene house experiences, and we'll double up the labs. The group will be split in half, so you won't be with your whole cohort in that time. And the reason the university is doing that is to keep the amount of students on campus down to 50%, so that we're reducing the risk of, the virus. But also in the lab, we'll have to have situations where there's a check-in and check-out system to make sure that you're all safe. But the university lab manager is working on that for us now, and it should be in place. It will be in place for the start of September. So yeah, that's how it's going to work, hopefully. Semester B, as Sally said, we're not sure yet, and we're hoping we'll be fully back on campus by then, but time will tell.
Thank you, Sarah. I think it's great to see how you guys have already planning it, and kind of you've got that plan in place ready for September for when people are joining us, and when obviously our first and second years, our current first and second years will be coming back in for their next year of uni. I suppose another thing to touch on is the accommodation side of things. So if obviously you are looking to move in on campus and live on campus, we are planning to kind of welcome you again in September. I think obviously social distancing will be in place. The whole university, we've got a critical management team who are working on how to make it safe. So that might be one-way corridors or things like that, to make sure that everything is safe for you. And obviously if you're moving into a flat, then that flat will be your new household. So when we talk about, when the government talks about social distancing in your household, obviously you will then have a new household depending on who's in your flat and your house. So hopefully that answers a couple of questions, but obviously, like I said, week by week we're following government guidelines and kind of monitoring how systems and processes might change, be it easing or maybe even tightening of lockdown again. So hopefully come September we'll be working with everyone back on campus. I can see that we've not had any further questions come through, so I'm going to do a nice little roundup now. I think it's a good opportunity too. So I just want to say thank you to Sarah and Dave for the presentation. It's really interesting, like I said earlier, the skill set that our students do learn on this course. It's amazing. And thank you to Jerry and David as well for sharing their perspective as a student. So I'm going to round up now. So thank you everyone for attending and for asking your questions. If you have any further questions, Sarah's email is on the screen there for you, or you can email visitus@marjon.ac.uk and we can point your query in the right direction. We've got a series of events happening on Marjon Live, so that could be talks on money matters or mental health awareness, life on campus. If you haven't visited us yet, there's a guided campus tour, so please do tune in for some of our other events, and hopefully we get to see you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much, everybody. Take care.
Take care. All the best.
Bye. Hope to see you in September.